everything you want in life comes with a price. Everything, and it's either if you chase your dreams, you're going to pay in sacrifice, and if you don't, you're going to pay in regret, and you get to decide which one you want to pay. But most people, I think that regret is a steeper price to pay. But so I don't understand what the hesitation is in not building your mountain. It's going to take years and years, but so what else are you going to do? Time's passing anyway. What else are you going to do?
You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin.
Hey everyone, it's Michael Jamin. We're back with Screenwriters Need to Hear This, and I'm here with Phil Hudson.
What up?
What up? And we're doing another episode. We have a topic. I did a post. I love how I just jump right into this, Phil. A lot of podcasts they no bullshit fluff for a while, but we don't put any fluff in this, except for what I just said right now. That's fluff.
This is explanation, and what I'm doing is explanation.
But yeah, so this idea is called building a mountain, and I did a post, I don't know, a week or two ago about that subject, and I wanted to just go talk about it a little bit more. I did a post on social media. You should be following me there, by the way, everyone, at Michael Jamin Writer. I post every day. So I did a post called Building a Mountain, and there's a great quote by Sylvester Stallone, and his advice is to build a mountain, climb it, and then build another mountain. And this refers to everything you do in life. And I remember when he said this, I thought what was so smart about that quote was he's not saying find a mountain and climb it. He's saying build a mountain and climb it, which is even more work. And I think this is important to talk about in people who want to break into Hollywood as screenwriters, actors, directors, whatever, because this is a mountain you have to climb, and everyone knows it's hard to break in. And once you're in, you still have to climb a mountain. And I just wanted to talk more about what that really means, not just climbing it, but building it, because building a mountain is even more work. Building a mountain requires you getting all the rocks in a sled and dumping them on a pile and then starting your climb. You have to do all this work before you even start climbing the mountain. And I know it looks like work, but that's how you stand out, because most people don't want to do it. Most people simply don't. Like, you'll stand out if you build a mountain. Forget about climbing it. Like, no one does that. And if you start building a mountain day after day, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's working on your script or actually shooting something or working on someone else's script or helping them, whatever that mountain looks like, whatever more work you could possibly do, I say sign up for it, because people will look at you like, look at that lunatic over there. Look what they're doing every day. They must be committed. They're doing things. And when I think about, I want to just talk more about what that could possibly look like, building a mountain. And I actually see people building mountains all the time, and they get my attention, and I think that's what happens. And this is going to surprise you, Phil. So we have a screenwriting course, and we have a private Facebook group, and people take the course and they get into the group, and there are people in the group that I see are building mountains. They're not just taking the class. They're not just writing their scripts. They are trading scripts. They are having table reads. They are helping each other out. I don't know if any of them started shooting stuff. To me, that would be ideal. They start shooting stuff on their phone and start building their own little, whatever looks like a film festival. I'm going to call some of these people out because I see their names, and I've never met any of them in person. Dave Crossman, Paul Rose, John Evans, Laurie Caravella, Glenn Toussaint, Bruce Gordon, Mark, is it Hoppala?
Mark Hoppala, I believe.
Hoppala.
Yep.
And Phil, you're one of them too. These are people who are going above and beyond because it's important to them. And then, I don't know, to me, that's just impressive. It catches my notice. Whatever it looks like, it could look like what they're doing, which is great. It could look like, they're building a community. So if one of them rises, if one of them starts doing well, the others are all it's by osmosis. This is their community. They're going to help each other out. This is their graduating class. And just, this is what you want to do. You want to be around successful people. Find out what successful people are doing and get in on it if you can. And success doesn't have to be the top. It could be wherever they're at, whatever level is, whatever your cohort is. And I want to say it probably feels beneath you to build a mountain. But when I interview people, even like on a podcast or whatever, and I get their stories, their origin stories, all of them were building mountains. None of them were just like, hey, I won a contest. None of them were like, hey, I submitted a script. Like everyone was like, oh, I had to do this, I had to do that. It was like, and I'm like, you did all that? Yep. I did. Like I remember I did one where I talked to Chandra Thomas, who's a writer on Tacoma, and she was like staging, plays where no one would come to see. And she's handing out flyers to get people to come. You did all that? Oh yeah, I did all that. Whatever it was to get better, to do more, to be seen more. But all of them do that. It's just, I know it looks like a lot of work. I know it looks like a lot of work, and it is, but that's why you should do it because no one else is doing it and you're going to stand out. I think, I don't know if it's generational. I don't know if people think if it's an entitlement thing, they think they should just be able to hand their script in, or if it's just they don't know any better. But do it. Like, and Phil, I'm building a mountain too. I'm exhausted. I feel like I shouldn't have to build a mountain after doing my career for so long. Well, sorry, we all have to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
and 2 years in, and look where you're at now in terms of, you were just on Andrew Yang's podcast. You've been interviewed for a ton of stuff about the writer's strike. And that comes from following the advice you give everybody else, which is every single day, build your mountain.
yeah, and take some time, whatever time it is. And you may not have a ton of time, but all right, you might, if you don't have a half hour, do you have 10 minutes? Everyone has got 10 minutes. So you could do that on your lunch, whatever it looks like for you. And, talent and connections are not enough, and more important than talent, although talent is very important, really more important is just not giving up and keep doing the work and just persevering. Like, because I know people with talent who have given up. I know people who are extremely talented in real life, like friends who gifted, people who are like, man, they're really gifted, but they just don't have they're not used to failing because they're so gifted. And because of that, I don't think they're as happy as they could be in real life, because even though they're way more talented than I am, they just they don't have that same, they're not used to failing. So get used to failing. There was a guy, there's a couple things I just want to talk about, but, oh yeah, I skipped over something. Like the people in the group, now that we're on strike, I get comments from people. People say, well, why don't writers band together and make their own studio? Good question. Why don't you? I mean, I don't need to do that, but why don't you do that? Why don't whoever's trying to be a writer, why don't you do that? And by studio, it could be a YouTube channel, whatever it is. It could be like, why are you not making your own material? Why are you not helping someone else make their material? Why are you like, good question. You don't need the studios. You don't need anyone's permission to write and shoot your own material and put it up out in the world. Now, why don't I do it? Well, I just don't, and I don't think I'm at the point of my career where I need to do that, but I think other people can do it. Why not?
Yeah, that's for me, what I'm hearing you say is that we need to spend more time being uncomfortable.
Hell yeah. There was a guy, he sent me a note, and I did a post on this. He I guess he was from England, and he moved to the UK to Los Angeles many years ago. His dream was to be a screenwriter. He wound up getting a job on the Fox lot in Fox Sports. Good for him, right? Because leaving England to move here, you're out of your comfort zone. I'm sure it's very brave. You have no friends and family. It's a different culture. I'm sure it's very difficult and brave. He gets this job, and suddenly he just lost his courage, and he stopped. He in his own note, he's like, I wasn't dedicated, I wasn't focused, and so he never became the screenwriter. He felt like he's so close but so far. He's literally feet away from the people who have the job he wants because he's on the lot, but he feels like he couldn't be further away, and yeah, he couldn't be, and it's because, and now that he's older, he's like in his mid-40s, and he feels like, well, maybe he missed his shot, and I made a case for why that wasn't necessarily so, but he just lost for whatever reason, he just lost his courage, and now he's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with regret, And I was talking about, well, in life, everything you pay for, and I know I've mentioned this before, so I'm going to, zip past it a little bit, but everything you want in life comes with a price. Everything. And it's either, if you chase your dreams, you're going to pay in sacrifice. And if you don't, you're going to pay in regret. And you get to decide which one do you want to pay. But most people, I think that regret is a steeper price to pay. But so I don't understand what the hesitation is in not building your mountain. It's going to take years and years, but so what else are you going to do? Time's passing anyway. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know?
There were, I wish I had the name of the resource on this, but about a year ago, I was listening to an audiobook or a podcast, and they were talking about how they started spending a bunch of time in old folks' homes. And one of the, universally, the thing that they focused on and thought about at the end of life is all of the things they regret not doing. Asking the girl out, pursuing their craft, spending more time with your family, all of those things. And regret is the theme at the end of your life.
Right. It's regret. And if you go for something, let's say you spent, I don't know, 10 years trying to break into Hollywood and you don't break in, are you going to have regrets? No. Will you feel like that time is wasted? I don't think so. I think you'd be like, oh, it just wasn't in the cards. It didn't work out for me, but I went for it. I went for it. And, there's so much honor in that, but where's the, but you don't regret that. You're not going to regret not making it in. You're going to be like, oh, it just didn't happen for me. But that's not, you can't put that on the regret list because you tried,
Yeah, I've said on the podcast before that my worst fear in life is sitting in a movie theater and wishing, man, I wish I did that. And it's because I have those moments when I go to a movie and something really impacts me. I have that gut feeling, this is all I want to do with my life.
Right.
So working in LA as an assistant, sacrificing time with my family or with my hobbies or not playing Xbox with my friends or whatever it is, cost of living, all that stuff, that is nothing compared to the price of the regret I know I'll have at 55 sitting in a theater thinking, I wish I would have kept trying. And yeah, I'm pretty close. I've had some really great success this year. Thanks again to you and your mentorship and the lessons you've taught me about how to do my craft appropriately. But beyond that, it's, I'm that close. But if I had to spend 10 more years trying, I'd spend 10 more years trying.
And you just had a setback. You just had a kick in the teeth, and it's hard to get back up after a kick in the teeth, and that's character.
Well, but I knew that, I had this experience with my daughter. We go to the playground here by my house. We just walk a couple blocks over, and there's the little kids playground and the big kids playground. And my daughter Grace is just this beautiful 2.5-year-old girl. She's like starts playing with the bigger kids, and she goes to the big playground, and then there's this like ladder, but it's not actually a ladder. It's like a plastic net, and she trips and falls and smacks her face on the plastic. And she starts crying. And as a parent, you understand this. There's a different cry when your kid's actually hurt and when they're scared. And it's like, oh, that's actual hurt. And so I went over, and she was pretty upset. And I knew the best thing I could do as a father at that moment was to get her to climb that thing right then, or she would be afraid of it. So I said, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's climb this together, and I'll be right here, and I'll make sure you don't fall again. And I helped her climb up this net to get to the top. And I said, you did it. And we celebrated. And I said, do you feel strong? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, great, go down the slide. And she forgot about all her pain, and she went down the slide, and she wanted to do it again immediately after.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like you said, you have a friend who is not used to failure, right?
Yeah.
I hate failing. And so falling down and getting yourself back up is just one of those life skills I learned too late in life, and I wish I would have had earlier. So
yeah,
I'm happy to talk about my experience if you want me to.
Yeah, go into it. Go into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell people what happened.
Yeah, so for anybody who's listened to the podcast for a while, I wrote this script, and Michael, you were kind enough to give me notes, and we recorded that on the podcast. And then I took several months, and I did a ton of research. You gave it a B+, and I really did my best to make it an A+. I probably landed it an A, not an A+, but it's good, and people read it, and they're like, man, that's really good. I now see ways I can improve it even a year later. Like I know I can make it better, but it's, so anyway, I sent it around to some people, and there were some people in this group who were like, read it and they're like, this is awesome. And then they hired me to write another feature for a couple $1,000. It's not a ton of money, but it's like, hey, it's work and I'm getting paid.
Right.
Then that turned into one of them's producing a film in Georgia, and the producer of this film had to fire his screenwriter for trying to take money out of his account, or so he said. And I'll get to that, I guess.
That was probably not what happened, as we learned, but okay.
Yeah, probably not what happened. There's some foreshadowing for you. That's a writer term, right, Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, my friend who's was asked to produce this film out there because of these hiccups, he pitched writing the screenplay for this project that supposedly has $12 million of budget, with another potentially 22 or $20 million being committed from other people. It's about this famous American moment in American history that apparently doesn't have a film about it, public domain, really cool project. And so he and I went together. We went in, we had a Zoom call with the guy. We pitched our idea, walked him through our process. He said, let me think about it for the day. We got off the call and he emailed within an hour. I was like, I think we're aligned. Let's move forward. And that was about 3 weeks before the writer's strike. So we negotiated a bunch of things. I negotiated that we would be WGA. He would join the guild after we turned in the script and become a signatory. It's a retroactive. It's all kosher. Don't worry. And then that we would get paid minimums, which for me is like, man, it's $160,000 split 2 ways, but still big fat money to write a feature film. And I called the WGA, made sure everything was good. The writer's strike happened. Nothing happened. And then he was like, all right, let's get it going. And so we called our attorney. He connected with his attorney. We did the contracts, the back and forth. We got the contract. He was going to fly me out to Baltimore, Maryland to do research. We submitted the script. We signed the contract. And then the next day, the day I was supposed to fly to Baltimore, he fell and broke 3 fingers in his car door. Mm-hmm. And I was like, crap. Well, and the whole time there's like this weird spidey sense going off. Like, this is too good to be true. There's too much here, but I'm ignoring it because I want this so badly. Mm-hmm. And then he signed the contract after he broke his hands and sent it back through DocuSign and get it to our attorneys. Awesome. My attorney was smart enough to put a line in there that you have to make the initial payment, which is a required step to execute the contract. Mm-hmm. And he said, no problem. I'll wire the money. The trip fell apart. No flights were given, all this stuff. And then the wire was supposed to come. He said he sent it on a Tuesday. Thursday comes around. There's no money. Friday, there's no money. Calls are being made. Don't know what's happening. I'm calling my bank. He's not giving us a confirmation number, which is pretty easy. Your bank can just track a confirmation number on a wire because it's in a database. And so then I start thinking about it some more. And then I start realizing that this guy might not have any money. And this guy might be selling dreams. And I start feeling a little abused because of the whole situation. And you gave me some good advice, which I'll go into. But ultimately, here I am 2.5 weeks later with a signed contract that will get me in the WGA and pay me $75,000 to write a feature film and be a producer on the film, which I included in the contract and they agreed to. And I have no money in my account and I have a basically void contract.
Yeah, because the guy was just he was a psycho. He was just he wasn't even a scammer. He was just
he's got access to my bank account. I sent him wire information. He can technically pull money out of my account with an ACH withdrawal or write checks off that account. None of that has happened. And you would think someone who was scamming you, that's how you do it. Find people who look like they're successful in Hollywood because I have an IMDb credit that makes you look successful and take money out of their account, selling them the dream. That hasn't even happened. And so you pointed out, these are delusions of grandeur. And you said, don't feel like that guy robbed you of a dream or stole your dream and is scamming you. That's that guy's dream too. Yeah. And my wife pointed out in his mind, he probably legitimately thinks he's going to make this happen because there's a level of mental instability here.
Yeah. This is his dream, is to be a producer or director or whatever. And it doesn't really matter. I'm going to make it happen. But I mean, he's obviously nuts. So that's heartbreaking to find out that you were this close and the guy was delusional. So,
well, going back to what I said about my daughter, like I literally just thought of that moment. And, I shared this with you too. The moment I signed that contract, I recorded a video for my kids talking about how you can chase your dreams and it will come true. Yeah. And that is a fake, false moment. Yeah. I felt all of the emotions, all real, Not true. But I thought of my daughter and I thought of her falling down on that playground. And I said, all right, get back to work. And so I just started writing something else
And I'd write about that.
immediately.
It's so I'd write about that guy. I'd write about that and how I don't know. It's I because I write personal essays. If it happened to me, I'd be like, oh, there's a story in there for sure.
Sure.
But yeah, there's so much. There's just I just think people, getting back to what we were talking about, I just think people are they just want it to happen. They just want to turn their script in, get hired. But in truth, if you look at successful people, they all suffered for a long time, and they built a mountain. And I don't know what your plan is or what you're going to do. It'd be easier to have your script obviously made by someone else and bought, but obviously there's things you could still do on your own.
Sure.
And,
Sure. And, I think that's the conversation with the attorney is, can I still write that script? Even though it's public domain, they didn't bring anything unique to it. Probably okay to do that, but there is a paper trail now, and I don't know. But on the other hand, I think this is something you talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. And in hindsight,
money never changed hands. Was it his idea?
Contract was never executed. He brought the idea to us, but it's a public domain historical thing.
Okay.
And nothing he brought us is not in the public domain.
Right. Okay.
So, and the contract's void, because he didn't exchange money. So,
right.
What I was going to say is, you said this for a long time. I think we said it on the webinar we just did. Producers, we're talking about pitch fests and stuff. People who want to hire professional screenwriters go to the WGA because that's where the professional writers are.
Yeah.
And if someone with a $12 million budget offers you to write that script, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen or has never happened, but that should have been red flag number one, but I was blinded by that dream. So I was trying to find a shortcut. I was trying to get ahead by working the system. And at the end of the day, I didn't pay a price for it, but I learned a valuable lesson, which is, don't get your hopes up until money's in your account. Make sure you cross all the T's and do your research.
Yeah. But we've spoken about, I'm sure we've spoken about this guy who did this movie called Thunder Road.
I think we talked about it once.
How he shot this, and it turns out it was a feature that he submitted, but it was, I only saw the scene, and the scene that he shot was that I was totally impressed by. It's on Vimeo or YouTube, I don't know. It was just took place in a church. It was one scene, a handful of extras, and he was pretty much the only talking part. And that could have been shot. To me, it stood on itself. It was a scene that could have been a short. It could have lived on its own. I didn't know it was part of a larger movie. And to me, it was brilliant. It was brilliantly acted and written, and it was emotional, and it was funny. And it's something, it got my attention, and I'm sure it got the attention of a lot bigger people than myself. And it's something he could have done. If he wanted to, he could have shot it in a day using a couple of iPhones.
Right.
It didn't have to, and it was, all you need is good sound. But do something like that. I mean, all of us can do something like that, something small.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, this is, I think, a lesson that a lot of us need, which is you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You need to put yourself in situations where it is difficult by choice, right? Mm-hmm. You need to almost experience death, if you will, but in a controlled environment. And that's what, I mean, I've talked about it before. One of the things that impressed me early on is you have a hill that you run up regularly.
Yeah.
You push yourself to run up a hill. You run up a hill. Why? Because it's hard.
Yeah.
You don't run on flat ground. You run up a hill.
It's a little harder. There is a wonderful video that David Bowie spoke about, where he talks about, if you want to do something great, you have to swim in waters just deep enough so you can't touch the bottom. And so, talking about get out of your comfort zone. And you have to be willing to risk. And that's where that's where art is made. And that's where, that's where the advances come. That's where the growth comes, is when you're in over your head. So God, and so what if you make something terrible? Yeah. And what? So what?
Yeah.
You get trolled by people who don't do anything with their lives, and what's their point?
I know we've read the poem before, but it's I believe it's Teddy Roosevelt wrote the poem "Man in the Arena," right?
Yeah,
Which is
right. Yeah,
everyone goes after and has words to say about the man in the arena, but at the end
yeah,
of the day, you can't listen to them because they're not in the arena getting punched in the face, right? And
yeah.
that's what this is. It's getting punched in the face willingly, knowing that your body can heal itself, your ego can heal itself, your mind can heal itself, and you get stronger and more resilient. And you do that by degrees. You don't have to go drowned. You can do a cold plunge in your shower. Just turn the water cold. That
And
sucks. That's not fun.
Brene Brown talks about this on her last special or Netflix special. Yeah, that's what vulnerability is, getting out of your comfort zone, and that's when great things happen. And and it's not just a cliche. It's not just talk. It's like, no, guys, this is where good things happen, is when you do things that are hard out of your comfort zone. And I'm always amazed. I'm always inspired by people. Whatever, you could see them on social media, and they could be doing something, I don't know, riding a skateboard on a rail. They could be doing something, some like, none of that is easy, and all of
Yeah.
that requires a commitment to, like, doing this over and over again and taking your knocks. And I, sure, I may look at it and think, well, yeah, but you're just skateboarding. But no, they're not just skateboarding. They're like they're getting their head kicked in, and they make it look easy, but it's only because they've been doing it so damn long.
Hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my videos and you want me to email them to you for free, join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos. These are for writers, actors, creative types. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and it's absolutely free. Just go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist.
Yeah, I think society looks at skateboarders, and we're using skateboarders as a metaphor for people who do things that are strange or not common. And art and craft, I think, fall into that category.
Yeah,
Shooting your videos, putting your YouTube videos up, doing a podcast, doing your TikTok videos, whatever. But there was a psychologist who talked about skateboarders and like, don't worry about the skateboarders. They're going to be fine. They know adversity.
yeah,
It's the other people. It's the people sitting at home not taking risk. That's it. And right about that time, I saw this video. It went pretty viral, and it was a kid, and he's just out practicing this move on a skateboard over and over and over and over. And the feeling I got was just like, I don't know that I've practiced anything with this much intensity and courage. And then
yeah,
when he lands it, like, I wanted to cry. I want to cry now thinking about how
yeah,
happy I was for that kid landing this thing that he spent all day
yeah,
trying to do. And that's
yeah,
just triumph of the human spirit. That's literally what moves us as humanity. It's
yeah,
overcoming obstacles. It's story, right? It's
yeah.
your definition of that.
It's funny you mention that, because you've helped me. I ran the marketing. My wife had a girls' clothing company called Twirly Girl for many
Mhm.
years, and I helped her with the marketing of that. And in the beginning, you were a big help. That's how we met, because I didn't know anything about digital marketing. You were a real big help on that. And the company was flailing for a long time, like, barely making any money. And I signed up for something called 10,000 Small Businesses, which is a program sponsored by Goldman Sachs. Almost created the economy, way back in, I don't know, 2008 or something. Maybe it was longer. I don't know. And so, as their penance, they decided to create this small business program where they help small business owners kind of become more profitable, and it's free. All you got to do is apply to it and open up your book. So I applied. I found out about it, and it's like a first class program. It's like, I don't know how many, 10 weeks, 1 day a week for 10 weeks, and managed to make time to get into it. And I got into it, and it was a blessing. And it was first class. And they describe it as not MBA teaches you about all business. This was a mini MBA, which teaches you about your business. So I had to come in and I had to do a business plan. At the end of the 10 weeks, you got to do a business plan on your business. How are you going to make your business profitable? I'm like, how do I know? I haven't done that in forever. Why would I know now? So, but I did all the steps that they tell you to do. And at the end, I came up with this business plan. And this is just when Facebook advertising was kind of taking off. And so I was like, okay, maybe if I did this so I made up a whole business plan for Facebook advertising. And I had projections and I had a budget. And I told my wife, I'm going to spend, I don't remember how much money, maybe it was like $1,000. I said, I know we're not making any money, but I want to spend $1,000 doing this. And I had this whole strategy mapped out. I go, if it works, we'll make money. And if it doesn't, we're at $1,000. Are you okay with that? And she was like, yeah, we have to, right? So I did this business plan and I had projections, and I, I mapped out, my projections. If I spent this much money, this is how much I think we'll make. And then we spent the money, and at the end of the month, I added up the projections versus reality, and I was off by something like 10 cents or something. Like,
Wow.
that was probably like a giant coincidence. Like I could have been off by $300 or $200, and it would have been fine because there's a margin of error. Would have been fine. So the fact that I was off by like 10 cents is like, there's a lot of luck.
Mind blowing though. Yeah.
But it was mind blowing, and I was so, like, I remember I went for a run that day, and I was almost in tears because I was like, oh my God, we finally figured it out. Like, it took so long for us to finally make money with this business. We were just bleeding money for all this time, and we tried everything. And the fact that this finally worked after just not giving up, I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, thank God I didn't stop, So
Yeah, it's resilience. It's resilience. I went to a Tony Robbins event, and say what you will about Tony Robbins, but I went to an event and he said the same. Really just impacted me. He's like, I went to the Olympics in Atlanta, and they bring out an Olympian, a gold medalist from like the 1940s who was still alive, and everyone in the stadium stood and cheered for this person. And it's like, why? Because that person did something unimaginable. They were world class at what they did 60 years ago, 50 years ago, and we still respect it. And it's about the effort and the time and the sacrifice that went into that. And it applies to everything else. I mean, how much time have you put into your craft of writing? How much time are you writing when you're not being paid to write, Michael? All the time.
Yeah, all the time. But when people said like, "Well, I have a script," or or sometimes it's very frustrating when they talk about the gatekeepers, and they talk about why everything's so unfair, and it's like, well, what? And I ask, like, well, what have you done though? Where do you live? Oh, I'm in Cleveland. You're going to complain about gatekeepers because there are people out here trying to break into Hollywood. They got a leg up on you. They're sacrificing more, and you're going to complain about gatekeepers. What do you know from Cleveland? What do you know? What do you know about Hollywood? You are in Cleveland, but they have these preconceived notions about what it is. They've already given up, and you haven't even tried. And you think they think they've tried, but they haven't. They really haven't. They haven't done everything, and the people who are here who've given up more, guess what? They deserve to be at the front of the line.
Season 3 of Tacoma FD, it was like we were shooting late, and the producer from A24, Savvy, she came in and she was talking to us, and she was talking to me and the other PA, and we were just talking about like our experience in Hollywood so far. And she was like, she heard my story, and she's like, I asked her what her story was, and she's like, well, I pulled a Phil, and it was very kind of her to say that, but she's like, I did the same thing you did, where I started working on a show as an assistant, and then they kept me on for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and I just worked on that show year round for several years, and then I became the line producer's assistant, and then I learned how to do producing, and she just worked her way up the exact same way that I was trying to do. She's just younger than me, but she's did the exact same path of sacrifice.
Right.
Probably dozens, if not hundreds of people in LA who have done the exact same thing of busting their butt, doing things that they feel are beneath them to make it work. It's not unique. It's about the commitment and how much can you tolerate.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't even take a lot of talent. It doesn't take a lot of talent to do the work. Yeah, it doesn't. It just takes you a commitment to doing the work. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful. No, because talent does play an element. But the building the mountain just takes no talent at all. That's just work. Anyone can do that.
We all know what a mountain looks like, right?
Yeah, and to build on that metaphor, what is mountain climbing? Like, mountain climbing is just walking, guys. When people go to climb to the top of Everest, guess what? They're just walking. They're walking in the cold. They're walking with an oxygen mask at times. They're walking hooked up to ropes with little air to breathe. I get it, but they're still just walking, So, and what they do is, incredible. But again, it's walking. So if you want to climb your mountain, do you know how to walk? I mean, that's it. It's just one step at a time.
Yeah, I might have talked about this on the podcast before, so forgive me if it's redundant, but someone asked me recently, like, well, how did you get to LA? Like, how did you transition out of doing SEO and digital marketing to do this? And it was like 2009 or 10,
Mhm.
and I started volunteering at the Sundance Film Festival. And I was living with some roommates at the time, and I just started this job in sales, and I was not very good at it. And all I wanted to do was write. That's all I wanted to do. And for 2 years, I'd been writing really bad features, and they were just horrible. And I was like, well, I know where I want to go is be in Hollywood and be a professional writer. And so the shortest path, the direct line is just write, write, write. But at the same time, I had just gotten out of the recession and I was just
Mhm.
making my life better. And I was like, okay, how am I going to make this work? I need to get to LA. Well, how am I going to get to LA? Well, I need to have money. Well, what kind of money? Because if I want to write in LA, I'm going to have a lot more money than I have now. And probably going to need some sort of passive income. And I don't know that passive income is ever actually passive, but I'm going to need something that generates money so I can spend time on my craft. Well, I know how to do e-commerce, and I'm at a company that teaches e-commerce, and I can get really good at that. And then that will generate money. So I'm just shipping things and handling customer support instead of waiting tables. So that sounds good. But what do I need to do to be able to afford that? So, well, I need to learn how to sell things. I need to make money now to be able to afford that. So I went home that day. I said, in 5 years, here's where I'll be. I'll be in LA. I'll have a profitable e-commerce business, which is what our company did. And I will be able to write and work for 3 hours a day and then write. And it may not be a lot, but I'll survive. And I literally went home and I went into my room and I took my Xbox and I unplugged it and I put it in my roommate's room and I set it down. And then where it was on the TV, I took the TV and I put it in the closet and I sat down at my desk and I would go to work and I would suck at selling and then I would sit there and I just read sales books. And within a week, I started making money because I put time and intention and focus into my mountain, which was sales. And within 6 months, I was the number one sales rep at the entire company with the worst leads. But I was making so much money that I was like, okay, now I can take a step back. And it's not tons of money, guys. Like, this is like a ton of money for me at the time because I grew up super poor. It was like $74,000 a year at 24 years old. Stupid money for a 24-year-old kid in 2010 or 11. And so beyond that, the next thing that I did was, okay, now I need to take the same amount of time I was putting into sales and put it in e-commerce. And I would just sit there and I'd put in the DVD training series, which is like the equivalent of your screenwriting course. And I would just watch the guru teach people how to do the job. This is what we sold. And I would just do what he said. And within 3 months, my website was making more money than I was making in commissions at the job. And then I went in and I talked to him because he had an open door policy at the company. I said, hey, Parker, do you mind just looking at my site? He looked through a bunch of things. He's like, you did this? And I was like, yeah. He's like, this is a success story. Congrats. And I was like, awesome. And I just kept doing that and doing that. And then when that started doing well, then I started to focus on writing. And because that was my next mountain. And then I took a huge detour through Santa Fe to go to film school because of my Sundance stuff. But I was also volunteering for 40 hours at Sundance while working. And that was my way of staying in the business and doing it. And I would write for a couple hours on the weekend. So that's not unique to me. I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. What I'm saying is, for anybody listening who's struggling, is you need to define where you want to go and backfill the steps to get there. And I think what you're saying is those are the mountains, and the mountain screenwriting. How am I going to get to LA? That's a mountain. Once you're in LA, how do you get a job in the industry? That's a mountain, right? It's just step by step by step.
Right. Yeah. You got to put the work. And this shouldn't be. I don't know why it's surprising to people. Sometimes when I say stuff like make these comments in these posts on social media, like, man, this guy gets it. He's dropping bombs. Like, well, I don't know. This is just the truth. I don't know. It's like, isn't it just obvious? You know,
Yeah.
there's just no shortcuts. I wish, wouldn't be great. Like you don't get to take a helicopter to the top of the mountain and plant your flag. It just doesn't work that way. You got to climb
And if
it.
you do, you will very shortly fall down the mountain because you
Yeah.
don't know how to have sure footing on the mountain.
And you won't appreciate what you've done there. You won't be able to celebrate because it'd be like, yeah, I took a helicopter, And so that's the problem with what I see sometimes with people like, well, how do I sell my screenplay? How do I sell my idea? Your idea? No.
Yeah.
You don't sell your idea.
Yep.
You want to write it? Fine, learn how to write. Everyone wants to skip that step. That part's too hard. They just want to sell it.
Right. From an action perspective, other than, the classic self-development or personal development 5-year goal and backtrack, 5-year goal, 1-year goal, 6-month goal, quarterly goal, weekly goal, monthly goal, weekly goal, daily goal, like doing that to keep your focus and stay on a trajectory. Beyond that, as a writer, what do you see are the actionable steps people can do to build the mountain? And I think this might be more related to craft. You've done a lot of content on go do it yourself. Don't let people
Yeah.
hold you back. Make your own content. But from a craft perspective, what do you think people can do? Because that seems to be the place where most people struggle is knowing how to tell a good story and do it properly.
Yeah, I mean, people want to skip that part. Obviously we have a course, and you're welcome. Anyone's welcome. We only open enrollment a few days a month, but if they want to go check that out, it's at michaeljamin.com/course, where I teach you everything that I've known, everything I learned at the feet of better writers than myself, working on professional television shows. And so that's what I teach you, like how we break a story every day, because we can't wait for inspiration. You get paid.
Mhm.
You have to get paid. You have to make a TV show this week. So I teach you that. And I think it's actually like what I recommend is for people to just go through the course and watch a half hour. It's a long course. I say watch a half hour a day, and which is not going to kill you. It's a half hour. And then at the end of the month, you'll have finished the course, and then you'll have a habit. Like, okay, from 9:30 to 10, I always write. I always work on my writing. So do that.
Mhm.
And and stop worrying about. I also say, like, people always say write one screenplay, they polish it, they work on it, no, finish it, put it aside, and work on another
Yep.
one, because it's the beginning to end process that will make you better. And then when you look back on your fifth screenplay and you compare it to your first, I don't care how much work you did on the first, number five is going to be much better. It just is. And that just from doing the damn work,
Yeah.
but anyone can do it. Anyone can just sit down and work.
Yep. You put out
Yeah.
tons of free content on your social media as well. And there are probably a
Y-
lot of people here who found you, so you know that. But for those who
Yeah.
stumble upon this podcast or a friend shared it with you, Michael Jamin Writer on social media, tons of
Yeah.
great stuff.
On
Podcast.
Instagram,
This
TikTok. Yeah.
podcast has a ton of great info on it as well. Yeah, it's just, I mean, look, the answer is do the work, right?
I also, and I have a ton of the posts, ton of free stuff, and people are like, "Whoa, you have too much." I have too much. Like, so
Mm.
sit down and watch a post. What, now you're complaining that you have too much free help? So watch a post a day, watch 5 a day. Is that going to hurt you? Each one is 3 minutes long, so it's
Yeah.
15 minutes. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's free. It's there.
Yeah. That's upsetting to me. Right here behind my diploma, I have this book, and it was the first book I wrote on screenwriting because, like, I didn't know until I was 21 that there was a format for writing TV, and I knew I wanted to do it since I was 12 because the internet was new when I was a kid. Like, you don't know, and so I went into a Barnes and Noble and I went through the movie thief section. I found 2 books on screenwriting.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the one that made the most sense to me, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Screenwriting by Skip Press. And I went home and I just devoured that book. All I wanted to do was read that book. And I got to the end and it was resources. And there's a link to a couple websites in there. And one of them was Word Player by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who were like legends in the screenwriting world. And I went to their site, wordplayer.com, and I found, and it's not a pretty site. It is like forums from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But there were articles that they would do on AOL in the late 90s that they had republished there. And I just started going through them one by one and reading them and rereading them. And I was so committed to this. I set it as my home tab on my computer. So
Wow.
when I logged in, I would see their site load. And the first day I did that, I got a notice saying I was banned from the site and couldn't access it. And I had to contact the webmaster, and the server had flagged me for spamming the site because I went to it too much.
They thought you were spamming it just because you were reading it.
That was because I just kept going. Every time I'd open a browser, it would load that site. And so it was, and it's not like I was like spending a ton of time on the web, but it kept flagging me because my IP address was being flagged as like a brute force attack or a DDoS attack or whatever you want to call it. And so I had to contact the webmaster and be like, hey, I'm just really committed to my craft. And I just really want to be able to look at the site every time I feel like I might get distracted by something on the web. I can remember my purpose. And she's like, okay. So she whitelisted my IP and I could keep going back to the site. But
Wow.
there were like 40 articles on that. Michael, you've put up a post every day for almost 2 years. That's over 700 pieces of content.
Yeah.
Not including, we're at like almost 90 episodes of the podcast that are between 30 minutes and an hour each. not to mention the articles in your website,
Yeah.
not to mention the free course, not to mention the free PDFs that we give away in your webinars,
Yeah.
not to mention the monthly webinars. So it's actually kind of upsetting to me that people say you have too much, because I was dying in the desert hoping for water and I found an
Yeah.
oasis, right?
Someone, I don't think they were talking to me, but they left a comment my posts, saying, you Hollywood gatekeepers. I'm like, gatekeepers, dude, I'm on here every freaking day trying to tell you what to do. Who's the gatekeeper? Who's the gatekeeper?
Yeah, and that all that is it's a belief that you have in your mind, and it's a very subtle way your unconscious mind is protecting you from failure.
Yeah. Right.
You talked about friends who have tremendous talent or who come out here and then wash out. And
Yeah.
I have friends. I have people I moved out here with. I have people who from my film school moved out here and they had roommates. And out of all those people, I think I've said it on here, there's like 3 of those people in LA, of all of Los Angeles, from the hundreds of people I went to college with. And one's an agent's assistant, or maybe an agent now. One is an actual WGA writer. One is the head of creative development for an actual production company. There's me, who's just a guy who handles plumbing on a TV show effectively, right? But they're very few. And I do have friends who are literally afraid to push themselves and do work because they don't want to disappoint their dad. Because their dad gave them crap for wanting to pursue art and said, you will fail. And when you fail, you'll have a home here and we can find work for you.
Oh,
and so they don't want to fail. So they won't take risks, because as long as they're tangentially working in around the industry, they haven't failed. So they won't push themselves.
It's so sad. Like, my daughter wanted to be an artist when she was in grade school, and then she applied to the School of the Arts, which is a free. It's a free school, public school for the high school, but you have to apply for it. And I was like, I'm not helping you do this. Like, if you want it, you're going to have to do it yourself. And she did do it herself, and she got in. Then she went. Now she's at Cooper Union, which is a great art school in New York City. Because like being an artist is hard, but she's so committed. And the other day she said, "Hey, I'm going to submit my film to a film festival, like an art film school, festival, like not narrative, but more kind of avant-garde." And I go, "Give me the bill." It wasn't even a lot. It was like $78, but I was like, "I'm paying for it because, like that's it. I want her to be able to,
so cool.
That's like the least I can do, because I didn't support her then because I didn't know how serious she was, because."
But she's proven herself.
She's proven herself now. So no, I'm paying. I go, I want to pay for this because you've proven it yourself. So
it's easy to say you want to be a professional NBA player. It's hard to sit there after everyone goes home and keep shooting free throws and then shoot 3-pointers and then run sprints and do ladders. It's like, that's the work no one wants to do. It's not sexy. It's hard. It's sweaty. And that's so cool.
And when that person does the work, though, then you want to help them. You don't want to help them before, right? But when you see someone busting their ass, you go, okay, please let me help you because you're busting your ass. Yeah. And so bust your ass first, and then maybe someone will help you. But don't ask for help before you haven't done anything, because no one wants. Because it just feels like, how serious are you? Why am I going to get behind you if you're not serious?
Yeah, and I might err too far on the other side of this personally, but. I had a call with Paul Soder of Broken Lizard, and I had the opportunity to help them outside of the film Quasi they did on Hulu, but also like ran their social media and went on tour with them, which was a super cool experience. And I had a moment where I was like at dinner with them, and I believe Kevin Heffernan brought up something. It's me, Kevin, Jay, and Paul, and we're sitting at dinner, and he brought up something, and it was talking about how it was talking about hard work and effort you had to put in. And I just had this moment where it clicked for me. And I said, Kevin, I appreciate what you're saying. And he's basically alluding to the fact that if we complain about the fact that we think we've earned opportunities and other people get them, that we need to understand that many of the things we're frustrated about serve a very valuable purpose, And he said that, and I said, I'm having the realization now that the fact that I'm sitting at the table with you guys is because anytime I've not gotten something from you guys that other people have told me I deserved, I've never said a word to you about it. And he said, exactly. Right. I'm not looking for anything from those guys. Right. I'm looking to earn it when it's time. And it stings and it's frustrating when it doesn't come and other people told you it should. But those are expectations people put in my head. They're not expectations I have in my heart. And I let that get in the way. And then I have to work through that pain and frustration to get back to my baseline of it doesn't matter. And look, Paul Sutter was calling and asking for help with what I do in the digital marketing world. And I was like, I'm happy to help you. And he's like, no, I want to pay you. And I was like, look, man, I think it's important that I help you as a way of giving back for what you've already done. He's like, well, and it's like, I had to help him understand, no, I feel gratitude. I feel a debt of gratitude, not the other way around.
I mean, think about that though, Phil, whatever, 10 years ago. When did you move to LA?
I moved to LA in 2016. So it's been almost 7 years.
Okay, so if I had told you 7 years ago,
but I would have. You told me to move here to be fair, in 2013 when we met, and I got the scholarship opportunity like a month later.
But you're not going to.
And so I took a 3-year delay to get here.
But all right, but if I told you 7 years ago that you'd be sitting at the table with these filmmakers in their presence, who they're very successful, and just absorbing and learning from them, like you'd be out of your mind. I mean, those guys are.
I would have thought you were crazy. In no way.
Yeah.
I had that moment too. We were on tour and they were taking a photo, and I was like, "Oh, let me get out of the way." And they're like, "No, Phil, stay." And I never ask them for photos. I never ask them for autographs. I never do any of those things. And now it's like weird too, because I had to check myself to say. And anyway, I have this photo of them at dinner, which is really cool because it's not something I would ever ask for. But at the same time, I recognize that I see them as friends now, which is even crazier, right? Yeah. And I had to check myself on tour when I'm standing at Wrigley Field on the field while Jay's throwing out the first pitch.
Oh wow, isn't that great?
And I have the ball over here because Jay gave me the ball after.
Oh, that's nice.
So
that's nice.
I had to check myself and say, this is a dream I would have killed for in 2002, 3, 4 when I was in high school. I would have killed for this.
Yeah, and think how close you are. Yeah, so you're taking these steps. You're, like I said, you're one of the guys building the mountain. So
I appreciate it.
It'll take as long as it takes.
I just want to reiterate to everyone, and I understand that there's a lot of cynicism on the internet because there are a lot of self-serving people who focus on how can I get ahead. And there are a lot of people who accuse me of being insincere. Well, Michael, you know me.
That's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know who's. I don't know what context they said that.
It's a lot of people who don't know me, and I get it because there are people who are insincere and doing things to get ahead, and I run into those people. I'm not that person, and when I tell these stories or anything that's successful, I almost feel ashamed because it feels braggadocious and prideful, and there is pride behind it because I am proud of the work that I have put in. I have climbed the mountains that have gotten me to where I am, but at the same time, I'm just trying to help inspire you at home to put in the time, energy, and effort necessary to pursue your dreams, and surround yourself with the right mentors and people who have been where you want to be.
Yep.
Serve them with every skill set you have. Anybody can go pick up dry cleaning. Anybody can go walk a dog.
Yeah.
You don't need to understand digital marketing and the complex nuances of Facebook algorithms to do what I'm doing. You can do it yourself and do it freely without expectation.
As a wrap up, I want to leave people with the wise words of my 7th grade English teacher. Her name was Miss Toom, and she was old, and her name was Miss Toom. And she used to say, "Time's passing, but you're not."
Ooh.
And I always loved that. And I was like, Miss Toom, I'm in the honors program. I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what this empty thread is. But like, don't let time pass and and not do it. I love that. Time's pass. So make sure you use your time. Use your time and build a mountain.
That's beautiful.
All right, Philly.
Okay. Well, Michael, obviously we've talked about a bunch of the resources you have, and we always end with this is just because, again, there's a lot of content, but you have the free lesson from your course. It's available to anybody. Teaches you what story is and the definition. Again, literally the first thing you ever taught me. You shot me an email. I failed miserably. Go learn so you don't have to fail. But that's michaeljamin.com/free. You have the course. You can learn more about it and sign up to be notified when it's open at michaeljamin.com/course. You have your book that you're working on and touring. Any updates on touring?
No updates. We're still agonizing over the title. I'm working that out. It's been a process, But yeah, all this stuff is free. I got a lot of ton of free resources on my website, michaeljamin.com. Just go visit.
And michaeljamin.com, michaeljamin.com/upcoming is where they can get info about the book, though, right? And tours and all that stuff.
Upcoming is for my tours,
Cool.
And that's it. All right,
It was
everyone.
a pleasure, Michael. I appreciate the time. It was a very fruitful hour of conversation for me. I feel better.
I feel better
had
too.
This conversation. It's good stuff. Hopefully you guys at home do as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. All right. As Phil says, we concluded by saying, keep writing, everyone. So thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been an episode of Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin and Phil Hudson. If you're interested in learning more about writing, make sure you register for Michael's monthly webinar at michaeljamin.com/webinar. If you found this podcast helpful, consider sharing it with a friend and leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. For free screenwriting tips, follow Michael Jamin on social media at Michael Jamin Writer. You can follow Phil Hudson on social media at Phil A. Hudson. This podcast was produced by Phil Hudson. It was edited by Dallas Crane. Music by Ken Joseph. Until next time, keep writing.